Welcome to the Thea Lee podcast. It is February 4th, 2026, and we are on day 35 of reading through the Bible. We, of course, are still with Moses in the land of Egypt, and he is dealing with the Pharaoh. And the Lord speaks to Moses and says to return to the Pharaoh and make your demands again. And then he says this to Moses: I have made the Pharaoh and his officials stubborn, so I can display my miraculous signs among them. I have also done it so you can tell your children and grandchildren about how I made a mockery of the Egyptians and about the signs I displayed among them, and so that you will know that I am God. So Moses and Aaron go to the Pharaoh again, and they say, the God of the Hebrews says, how long will you refuse to submit to me? Let my people go so they can worship me. If you refuse, be careful, because tomorrow I will bring a swarm of locusts on your country. They will cover the land, all the ground. They will devour what little is left of your crops, including all the trees growing in the fields. They will overrun your palaces and homes of your officials and all of the houses in Egypt. Never in the history of Egypt have your ancestors seen a plague like this one. And with that, Moses turned and left the Pharaoh. So the Pharaoh's officials come to him now, and they're actually worried now. And they're saying, this man is holding us hostage. Let them go worship their God. Don't you realize the shape that Israel's in? They're like, we are in ruins. So Moses and Aaron are brought back, and the Pharaoh says, okay, fine, you can go worship, but who exactly do you want to take with you? And they said, well, we want to take everyone, the young, old, our sons and daughters, and all of our flocks and herds. We all must be together when we celebrate the festival to the Lord. But the Pharaoh retorts and says, there's no way. I can see what your plan is. I'm never going to let everyone go. You can only take the men with you. And the Pharaoh threw them out of the palace. So the Lord says to Moses, raise your hand over the land of Egypt and bring in the locusts. Let them cover the land and devour every plant that survived the hailstorm. So Moses raises his staff over Egypt, and the Lord brings in this east wind that blows all night, and by morning, the locusts are literally covering everything, and they devour every single blade of grass and leaf on the tree. There was literally nothing left. Then, of course, the Pharaoh calls Moses and Aaron in, and he says that he has now sinned against the Lord your God and against you. Forgive my sin just this once, and plead with the Lord your God, and take away this death from me. So Moses leaves the Pharaoh's court, and he pleads with the Lord. The Lord responds by switching the wind, and the west wind comes now and takes all of the locusts into the Red Sea. So not a single locust remains in the land. But then, of course, the Pharaoh's heart is hardened again, and he refused to let the people go. So then the Lord tells Moses to lift his hands towards heaven again, and the land of Egypt will be covered with a darkness so thick that you can feel it. So Moses lifted his hand to the sky, and the deep darkness covered the entire land of Egypt for 3 days. It was a darkness so thick that you could not see the person next to you, and so the Egyptians literally just sat still for 3 days. But there was light where the people of Israel lived. So then, of course, the Pharaoh calls for Moses again and says, go worship the Lord. But you have to leave your flocks and herds here, but now you can take your children with you. And Moses explains that no, they can't leave their flocks and herds there because they don't know what they're going to be sacrificing when they get there, and they have to have their flocks and herds there so when the Lord tells them what to sacrifice, they have them. But then the Lord hardens the Pharaoh's heart again, and he will not let them go. So he shouts at Moses and tells him, get out of here. Don't you ever come see me again. The day you see my face again, you will die. So Moses is like, fine, I'll never see your face again. But then the Lord tells him, I will strike the Pharaoh and the land of Egypt with one more blow. After that, the Pharaoh is going to actually make you leave. So when that happens, tell the people of Israel, the men and the women, to ask their Egyptian neighbors for articles of silver and gold. Now the Lord had caused the Egyptians to look favorably on the people of Israel, and Moses was now considered to be a really great man in the land of Egypt, respected by the officials and the people alike. So Moses announced to the Pharaoh, this is what the Lord says. At midnight tonight, I will pass through the heart of Egypt. All of the firstborn sons will die in every family in Egypt, from the oldest son of the Pharaoh who sits on the throne, to the oldest son of the lowliest servant girl who grinds the flour. Even the firstborn of all of the livestock will die. Then a loud wail will raise throughout the land of Egypt, a wail like no one has ever heard before or will ever hear again. But among the Israelites, it will be so peaceful that not even a dog will bark. Then you will know that the Lord makes a distinction between the Egyptians and the Israelites. All the officials in Egypt will run to me and will fall on the ground before me. Please leave, they will beg. Hurry and take your followers with you. Only then will I go." Then, burning with anger, Moses turned and left the Pharaoh. Now the Lord had told Moses earlier that the Pharaoh's not going to listen to you, but then I will do even more miracles in the land of Egypt. So while the Israelites were still in the land of Egypt, the Lord gave the instructions to Moses and Aaron. From now on, this will be the first month of the year for you. On the 10th day of this month, each family must choose a lamb or a young goat for a sacrifice, one animal for each household. Unless the family is too small to eat an entire goat, then they can separate it out between different families and use as much as each family needed. The animal that they selected must be a 1-year-old male, either a sheep or a goat, with no defects. Take special care of this animal until the evening of the 14th day of the first month. Then the whole assembly of the community of Israel will slaughter their lamb or young goat at twilight. They are to take some of the blood and smear it on the sides and tops of the door frames of the houses where they eat the animal. The same night, they must roast the meat over a fire and eat it along with bitter salad greens and bread made without yeast. Do not eat any of the meat raw or boiled in water. The whole animal, including the head, legs, and internal organs, must be roasted over the fire. Nothing can be left until the next morning. Burn whatever is not eaten before morning. So these are the instructions for eating. They had to be fully dressed, wear their sandals, carry their walking stick in their hand, and eat the meal with urgency, for this is the Lord's Passover. On that night, he was going to pass through the land of Egypt and strike down every firstborn son and firstborn male animal in the land of Egypt. I will execute judgment on all of the gods of Egypt, for I am the Lord. But the blood on your doorposts will serve as a sign, marking the houses where you are staying. When I see the blood, I will pass over you. This plague of death will not touch you when I strike the land of Egypt. This is a day to remember for generation to generation. It is a special festival to the Lord. It is a law now for all time. For the 7 days, you must have a festival. You must not eat bread that has any yeast in it. The first day of the festival, you have to remove every trace of yeast from your home. Anyone who eats bread made with yeast during these 7 days will be cut off from the community of Israel. And then it says the 1st and the 7th day of the festivals, there should be no work done except for meal preparation. They needed to celebrate this festival of unleavened bread, for it will remind them that God brought their forces out of the land of Egypt on this very day. It will be a permanent law for them from generation to generation. The unleavened bread must be made without yeast from the evening of the 14th day of the first month until the evening of the 21st day of that month. So then Moses calls together all of the Israelite elders and said, "Go pick out a lamb or goat for each of your families and slaughter the Passover animal." He told them to drain the blood into a basin and take a bundle of hyssop branches and dip into the blood and brush the hyssop across the top and sides of the door frames of the houses. And no one can go out through the door until morning. For the Lord will pass through the land and strike down the Egyptians. But when he sees the blood on the top and sides of the door frame, he will pass over your home. He will not permit his death angel to enter your house and strike you down. And then, of course, they say, remember that this is a permanent law. Your descendants must observe this forever. And when you pass into the land that the Lord has promised to give you, you will continue to observe this ceremony. So the people all bowed down and worshipped the Lord after Moses got done telling them about this. And they did just as the Lord had commanded. And that night, at midnight, the Lord struck down all of the firstborn sons in the land of Egypt, from the firstborn son of the Pharaoh who sat on his throne, to the firstborn son of the prisoner in the dungeon. Even the firstborn of their livestock were killed. The Pharaoh and all of his officials, and all the people of Egypt, woke during the night, and loud wailing was heard throughout the land of Egypt. There was not a single house where someone had not died. The Pharaoh sent for Moses and Aaron during the night. "Get out. Leave my people and take the rest of the Israelites with you. Go and worship the Lord as you have requested, and take your flocks and herds. Go, but bless me as you leave." All the Egyptians urged the people of Israel to get out of the land as quickly as possible because they were afraid that they would all die. The Israelites took their bread dough before their yeast was added, and they wrapped their kneading boards in their cloaks and carried them on their shoulders. And then, of course, they did as Moses had instructed, and they asked their Egyptian neighbors for gold and silver, and they ended up stripping the Egyptians of all of their wealth because the Egyptians saw them favorably and gave them whatever they asked. That night the people of Israel left Ramesses and started for Succoth. There were 600,000 men, and all of the children and women. There was a rabble of non-Israelites that went with them, along with great flocks and herds of livestock. They made flat cakes that did not have yeast in them because they left so quickly that they were not able to prepare their bread or other food. On this night, the Lord kept his promise to bring his people out of the land of Egypt. So this night belongs to him, and it must be commemorated every year by all of the Israelites from generation to generation. Then the Lord said to Moses and Aaron that these are the instructions for the festival Passover. No outsiders are supposed to eat it. If you have a slave that is of your house, if they have been circumcised, they can eat the Passover meal, but temporary residents or hired servants may not eat it. If there are foreigners living among you who want to celebrate the Lord's Passover, all of their males must be circumcised to do so. But no uncircumcised male may ever eat the Passover meal. And this instruction applies to everyone, whether native-born Israelite or a foreigner living among them. So all the people of Israel followed all the Lord's commands to Moses and Aaron. On that very day, the Lord brought the people of Israel out of the land of Egypt like an army. I'm trying to imagine what it would have been like to live in a time such as this that we're reading about, to actually watch the Lord execute judgment against all of the gods of Egypt. To hear him say that he has hardened the hearts of the officials and the Pharaoh, so number one, he can display his miraculous signs among them. Number two, so you can tell your children and grandchildren about how he made a mockery of the Egyptians and about the signs that he displayed among them. And then number three, just so that you know that he is the Lord. It would have been a scary and terrible time, so many horrible things happening. But then it also would have been really liberating and amazing because you're slaves and you are watching actual judgment come down on those who are oppressing you. And then God takes them in the middle of the night and walks them out of there, hundreds of thousands of them, with all of the riches of the Egyptians. While they are wailing because they have lost their loved ones, you are walking out the victor. It would have been terrifying. So many horrible things that you watch happening. But then again, how satisfying to see actual true godly judgment come down, justice happen. Incredible story. Thanks for listening. We'll talk again tomorrow.